April 9th, 1945, Königsberg, East Prussia. 9 in the morning. A castle is burning. Inside, 27 wooden crates have been waiting for months. Inside those crates sit 6 tons of hand-carved amber, coated in gold and mirrors. The most expensive room ever built, and in less than 72 hours, it's going to vanish forever. Nobody knows if it burned. Nobody knows if it ended up at the bottom of the Baltic Sea. Nobody knows if it's still buried right now under a forest in Poland. 83 years, dozens of expeditions, a Nazi historian who died right before he was set to be interrogated, a German treasure hunter found dead in a Bavarian forest in 1987, and a treasure that today would be worth more than $500 million. And there's a declassified Soviet document that contradicts the official version Russia repeated for decades. To understand why this room drove half of Europe to obsession, we have to go back to 1701. German sculptor Andreas Schlüter designed an amber panel for King Frederick I of Prussia. Danish craftsman Godfried Wolfram carved it piece by piece over years. The result looked like nothing else in Europe. Entire walls covered in Baltic amber, ranging from honey yellow to blood red, mounted on mirrors and gold leaf. In 1716, the King of Prussia, Frederick William I, gifted it to Tsar Peter the Great. It was a political gesture. Prussia and Russia had just sealed an alliance against Sweden. The room became the price of peace between two empires. The Russians installed it in Catherine Palace in Tsarskoye Selo, outside St. Petersburg. For over 2 centuries they expanded it, lit it with more than 500 candles, and called it the 8th wonder of the world. Tsars, ambassadors, and heads of state visited it like a relic. Then, on June 22, 1941, Adolf Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa. 3 million German soldiers crossed the Soviet border. The curators at Catherine Palace knew what was coming. They tried to dismantle the room piece by piece to evacuate it, but the amber, over 200 years old, began cracking at the touch. It couldn't be moved without destroying it.
So they did the only thing left. They covered the panels with thin wallpaper, hoping the German soldiers wouldn't know what was behind it. The trick didn't work for even a single day. The German troops who occupied Pushkin in September 1941 had a specialized art looting unit, the Kunstschutz. They knew exactly what they were looking for. In 36 hours, they fully dismantled the amber room and packed it into 27 crates. And here's the first fact almost nobody mentions. Those same crates were never reopened exactly as they left Russia. What happened next is only known in fragments, but there's something about the transfer to Germany the original German records never fully explained. What Germany did with the amber room over the following 3 years looks simple on the surface. It isn't. The 27 crates traveled by train to Königsberg on the Baltic coast, present-day Kaliningrad. There, the Castle Museum received them and reassembled the entire room. The man in charge was Dr. Alfred Roda, an art historian and collector obsessed with amber. Roda had been studying the piece for years, even before the war. For nearly 2 years, the amber room stood open to the public in Königsberg, displayed as a German war trophy. Museum records show Roda personally documented the condition of every panel on arrival. That inventory is the last complete, verified physical description that exists of the original amber room. In late 1943, as Allied bombing over Germany intensified, authorities ordered Roda to dismantle the room again and crate it. Roda complied. In August 1944, the British Royal Air Force bombed Königsberg. The castle was partially destroyed, and that's where the documented trail of the amber room cuts off.
The official version that circulated afterward says the crates were still inside the castle when the August 1944 bombing hit, but no German document confirms the crates remained there after that date. No one recorded a later transfer, and no one recorded them staying put either.
In January 1945, the Red Army was advancing through East Prussia. On April 9, 1945, Königsberg fell. The castle, already damaged, burned during the fall of the city. When the war ended, the Russian army sent a specialized team to search for the treasure. It was led by archaeologist Alexander Brusov. In documents declassified from the Russian State Archive, Brusov reported finding, among the rubble in the castle's basement, 3 of the 4 Florentine stone mosaics that had originally decorated the Amber Room. They were burned and damaged. His official conclusion was that the room had been destroyed in the April 1945 fire. That should have been the end of the story. It wasn't. Because if the Soviets already had in their own archives an investigation pointing to destruction by fire, why did the Soviet government spend the following 4 decades funding secret searches for the very treasure its own experts had already written off? British investigative journalists Catherine Scott Clark and Adrian Levy, who had access to declassified Soviet archives, documented an uncomfortable answer. The Soviet government wasn't searching for the amber. It was searching to confirm whether Soviet soldiers had been responsible for stealing or destroying it during the chaos of the fall of Königsberg. And in the middle of that investigation, the strangest piece of the whole case appears. Alfred Rode, the curator who documented every panel, who oversaw every dismantling, who knew more than anyone about the crate's final whereabouts, died alongside his wife in Königsberg in December 1945. The official certificate says typhus, an epidemic that was indeed sweeping the city that winter. But according to records reviewed by later investigators, Rode died the day before Soviet NKVD agents were set to formally interrogate him about the fate of the Amber Room. When a Soviet team returned weeks later to exhume the bodies and confirm the cause of death, the Rhodes remains were no longer where they should have been. The doctor who had signed the death certificate could never be located again either. No one has been able to prove this was murder, but no one has been able to explain why the man who knew the most died exactly before he could talk. Over the following 4 decades, the Amber Room became the quiet obsession of governments, historians, and treasure hunters across half the world. And every new lead ended in a documented dead end. Theory 1. It sank at sea. Several witnesses claim to have seen crates loaded onto the German ship Wilhelm Gustloff, which left Gdynia on January 30, 1945. That same day, a Soviet submarine torpedoed it. Over 9,000 people died, the deadliest maritime disaster in history. No confirmed cargo manifest has ever proven the Amber Room was aboard. Theory 2, it's still buried in a bunker. In 1958, Erich Koch, the former Nazi governor of East Prussia, was sentenced to death in Poland for war crimes. His sentence was commuted to life in prison. During his imprisonment, Koch hinted several times that he knew the location of a secret bunker where valuables had been hidden before Königsberg fell. He never revealed an exact location before dying in prison in 1986. Theory 3. It ended up in private hands, sold off in fragments. In 1997, German authorities confirmed that a Florentine mosaic offered for sale in Bremen was one of the original Amber Room pieces, held by the family of a German soldier who took part in the 1941 looting. That remains, to this day, the only authentic fragment ever recovered and confirmed through forensic testing. That 1997 discovery changes something important. It proves at least part of the Amber Room survived the Königsberg fire,
which means the official 1945 Soviet conclusion, total destruction by fire, can't be entirely true. And that's where the name every amber room hunter knows comes in. Georg Stein, a former German soldier turned obsessive investigator, spent much of his adult life tracking the treasure. He published theories, contacted archives across Europe, and earned a reputation as the most serious hunter on the case. In 1987, Stein's body was found in a forest near Munich, Bavaria. The official German investigation ruled suicide. Stein was going through severe financial ruin, documented in court records from the time. But several scene reports described incised wounds inconsistent with a simple suicide, which fueled decades of theories that someone silenced him before he could publish what he knew. No prosecutor ever reopened the case as a homicide. And in 1992, Russian General Yuri Gusev, another investigator linked to the treasure searches, died in a car accident in Moscow. His colleagues at Russian military intelligence, the GRU, concluded years later in internal investigations that it wasn't an accident.
2 investigators. 2 violent deaths, neither officially resolved as a murder tied to the case. In 2016, a team of Polish archaeologists used ground-penetrating radar on a complex of German bunkers in Mamerki in northern Poland. They detected a sealed underground chamber that appeared on no known blueprint. The excavation made headlines around the world. They didn't find the Amber Room. In 2003, to celebrate St. Petersburg's 300th anniversary, Russia unveiled a complete replica of the Amber Room at Catherine Palace. It took a team of craftsmen over 20 years to rebuild it, panel by panel, using the same 18th century techniques. It cost more than $11 million, partly funded by a German company. Millions of tourists visit it every year. They walk beneath the same golden light that once dazzled czars and ambassadors. And none of them are touching the original amber, because the original, if any of it survives, is still somewhere no one has been able to prove. Maybe in ashes under a parking lot in Kaliningrad. Maybe in the rusted hull of a ship at the bottom of the Baltic. Maybe in a sealed chamber nobody has found yet with the right radar. Here's what's certain. A curator died the day before he could talk. A treasure hunter turned up dead in a forest, and a government spent 40 years searching for something its own archives had secretly already written off as destroyed. The most expensive treasure in the world disappeared 83 years ago. And the question no archive has ever answered isn't where it is, it's who exactly didn't want it found.